The train station breathed with the slow hum of waiting bodies, shoulders bumping, announcements slicing the air, children whining for snacks in their parents' tired arms. The fluorescent lights above flickered with a kind of nervousness, casting thin shadows over scuffed floors and crumpled receipts. Somewhere, a violinist played a song no one really listened to, but its sadness hung in the air like fog. She stood near platform 14, still and out of place in the rush. A small suitcase rested by her boots, one corner scuffed raw. Her coat was too thin for the cold. The wind kept lifting her hair in uneven spirals around her face, strands catching on the cracked face of her wristwatch. She didn't brush them away. Her eyes were locked, gaze anchored to something, or someone, down the platform. The red scarf around her neck twisted in the wind like it had a life of its own. Once vibrant, now dulled by time and maybe something else. The end of it flapped hard against her chest, the motion sharp like warning. She didn't blink. I remember noticing her from where I stood by the vending machine. I'd come to meet my mother, her birthday was today. She always insisted on small rituals, a train ride into the city, lunch at the cafe with the ivy wall, and carrot cake with too much frosting. My phone buzzed in my coat pocket, but I didn't answer right away. Something about the way the girl stood, her back too straight, jaw clenched, held me. Then I heard it. The ringtone stopped. Then started again. Then again. Same number. I pulled the phone from my pocket and looked. Ella. My daughter. The screen glared white in my palm. I answered. Sweetheart? Silence. All around me, the world moved in smears, people pushing past, a coffee cup falling, someone laughing too loud. But her voice, when it came, sliced clean through it all. Dad, she whispered. Get out of the house. 3 seconds of stillness. Then the line went dead. My breath didn't come. My heart, where had it gone? I looked up again at the girl, and she was watching me now. Her eyes weren't curious. They were knowing. She bent down slowly and picked up her suitcase. One hand clutched the red scarf at her neck, as if it were the only thing holding her together. I saw her mouth move but heard nothing, just the whoosh of a train arriving on another platform. Her lips formed a single word. Run. I stepped back without meaning to. Behind me, someone said, "What's going on?" but I couldn't answer. My fingers trembled, still gripping the phone. Somewhere in the noise, a child started crying. The violinist's bow snapped mid-note. And I, standing in the blur between two lives, didn't yet know that everything I believed was about to be undone. She gripped the handle of her suitcase too tightly, knuckles pale, fingers aching, but she didn't let go. The zipper on the side was broken, half snagged on the edge of her old ballet slipper she'd shoved in last minute. She hadn't danced in years. Still, she couldn't leave it behind. The red scarf scratched at her neck, too warm now, but she kept it there like armor. Her father had given it to her the winter after her mother died. Red's a brave color, he'd said, pulling it gently around her shoulders outside the hospice. It doesn't flinch. You shouldn't either. She was 9 then. She hadn't cried when he said it. Now, standing alone in the chaos of the station, she could still feel the scratch of that day in her chest. Families bustled past her, bodies close, voices rising and falling. A boy ran toward his mother, arms wide, sobbing and laughing at once. An older man held his wife's hand like it might disappear. The girl watched them all, her eyes dry. No one waited for her. Not anymore. She checked the clock above the platform. 10 minutes. Her train was already delayed by 20. The loudspeaker buzzed with a garbled update, and her stomach twisted with that small, sour hope she hated, the one that whispered maybe she shouldn't go after all. She looked down at her suitcase. Her father used to pack it for her before she left for camp. Neat rows. Labeled Ziplocs. A stupid note tucked inside her sock, "Don't forget who you are." She used to roll her eyes at that. But now, she wanted nothing more than to read it again. A man stood near the vending machines. She had noticed him earlier, the way his fingers trembled when he held the phone, the stunned way he'd stared at her. He hadn't looked away since. Not in a threatening way. More like, he recognized her. Or thought he did. She shifted her weight, uncertain. Had she seen him before? She glanced at her reflection in the glass behind him, chapped lips, tired eyes, the soft purple bloom under one eye not yet faded. Her coat hung too loose. She'd lost weight again. Last night, she'd counted her cash on the bathroom floor. Not enough for the motel. Barely enough for the train. She hadn't told anyone, not even Ella. Especially not Ella. She couldn't. Her phone buzzed once. Unknown number. She didn't answer. A gust of wind blew through the station just then, lifting the scarf around her neck. It brushed her cheek like a hand. She looked up again. The man was still there. Still watching. She picked up her suitcase slowly, hesitating. Her fingers hovered over the broken zipper. She thought of the sock. The note. Her father's voice. "Don't forget who you are." The train screeched in the distance. And for a breathless second, she didn't move. The station lights flickered again, once, then twice, as if unsure whether to stay or go. Somewhere outside, thunder grumbled in the distance. The kind that stayed low and distant, like a warning held back for now. She didn't step forward. Not yet. The suitcase handle dug into her palm. Her thumb traced a circle over the rough plastic, over and over, grounding herself. A drop of rain hit the side of her cheek, slid under her scarf. She didn't wipe it away. The man had moved closer now, not by much, just a few feet. He didn't speak. Didn't wave. Just stood with his coat unbuttoned, his shoes cracked at the sides, soles nearly worn through. The kind of wear that doesn't come from fashion or laziness, but years of walking too far with nowhere to really go. She caught sight of something as he shifted his weight. A torn corner of a photograph slipped just above the leather lip of his wallet. A girl, dark hair, half a smile. Maybe 12. The edge frayed like it had been handled too much. She didn't mean to, but her throat caught. The photo. The scarf. The suitcase. All of it mirrored something back at her she didn't want to see. "You're not the only one." The train's arrival was announced again, delayed another 10 minutes. Still time to leave. Still time to stay. She glanced at the exit sign. Her body leaned that way, slightly, but her eyes kept pulling her back to him. His silence was heavy. Not awkward. Not expectant. Just present. And that, somehow, made it harder to turn away. What did he want? She could still hear Ella's voice echoing in her ear, "Get out of the house." Had he heard it too? Had she said it loud enough for others to notice? Or was he part of it? She hated how quickly her mind built traps like that. Years of living small, cautiously, always mapping escape routes in her head. Not knowing whom to trust. Including herself. A loud crack of thunder broke through the sky above, closer now. The rain came heavier, soft at first, then sudden, like something giving up. It slicked the platform in seconds. People rushed for shelter, jackets pulled over heads, umbrellas shaking open. He didn't move. Just blinked through the rain, eyes never leaving her. She watched a drop gather at the corner of his chin, fall without resistance. Go, she told herself. Just go. But she didn't. Instead, she shifted her suitcase, glanced down at it like it might answer her. She wanted to ask him something. Anything. But the words caught on something tight in her chest. A memory. A fear. Or maybe just the weight of not knowing what would happen if she opened her mouth. He looked at her then, not through her, but into her. And he smiled. Not wide. Not kind. Just tired. She opened her mouth. But no sound came. And the rain kept falling. The rain soaked through her coat now. It clung to her sleeves, heavy and cold, but she didn't move. Her suitcase had started to leak at the edges, the ballet slipper inside surely damp by now, softening into ruin. She should have left already. Should have turned, walked, disappeared. She stepped toward the edge of the platform, the yellow line just ahead. Her breath came too fast, chest tight like a door refusing to open. Go, she told herself again. You already packed. You already left. There's nothing here but ghosts and questions you don't want answers to. She tightened her grip on the suitcase. Her shoes slid slightly on the wet concrete. Behind her, laughter echoed from a couple huddled under a shared umbrella. A man in a crisp coat glanced her way, then looked quickly away, pity in his eyes. Or suspicion. It was hard to tell the difference anymore. Some people carry more than just bags, she thought. They carry silence. She took a step, one foot past the yellow line. Then stopped. Not because of the thunder. Not because of the train that hadn't yet arrived. But because of the red scarf. It was in his hands. He stood just beneath the edge of the overhang now, rain misting across his shoulders. He hadn't moved for a while. But the scarf, her scarf, was clutched in his hands like something sacred, something found. Had she dropped it? Or had he had it all along? She stared at the fabric, wet now, darker, but unmistakably hers. That threadbare corner, the tiny snag near the fringe. The one she'd picked at when she couldn't sleep. His eyes met hers over it. No words. Just that look. A quiet kind of ache resting in his face, like he knew it meant something but wasn't sure what to do with it. She turned sharply, anger rising before she even understood it. Why do you have that? Her voice broke as she said it. Not loud, but raw. People looked. Not many. Just enough to notice the sharp edge in her voice, the crack in her composure. An old woman near the coffee cart shook her head slowly, eyes narrowing. Like she'd already decided what kind of girl she was. Alone. Lost. Probably her fault. He didn't answer. She took 2 steps toward him, then stopped again, shaking now, hands, breath, knees. I should go, she whispered. It wasn't to him. Maybe not even to herself. Just something to say, something to fill the space between the look and the question she didn't want to ask. He held the scarf out gently. No force. No insistence. Just an offering. A peace. Or a plea. The train horn sounded in the distance, closer now, coming fast. She looked at the scarf. At him. At the puddle forming around her suitcase. Everything in her wanted to run. But her feet stayed rooted in the storm. And neither of them said a word. The train thundered past without stopping, express route. The wind of its passage whipped her hair into her eyes, into her mouth, stung her cheeks with rain. She didn't flinch. Neither did he. He still held the red scarf. The fabric dripped steadily onto the concrete, his fingers wrapped around it so gently, as if it might tear. Something about the way he held it had shifted. Not just with familiarity, but reverence. Like it belonged to someone else, someone long gone. I think it was hers, he said softly, almost apologetically. His voice, low and cracked, barely rose over the hiss of fading brakes. My daughter. Before he trailed off. The scarf. Her breath caught in her throat. Her mother had bought it from a second-hand shop when she was 7. That's what she remembered. But now the timeline twisted in her head, pulled like thread unraveling. Could that have been a lie? Could it have come from someone else before that? Her name, she asked, barely more than a whisper. He didn't hesitate. Ella. Her mouth went dry. That was her daughter's name. His daughter's name. She staggered back half a step. The scarf slipped from his hands, then landed in a small, dark puddle between them. No one moved to pick it up. He didn't chase after her. But he reached slowly into his coat and pulled out a folded envelope, worn at the edges. He held it out to her. She stared. I think you applied for a job last week, he said, eyes searching hers. At Lumitech. Her hands trembled. How do you know that? I started it. Years ago. Before I left. He glanced downward. Your resume landed on my desk. The name caught me. The handwriting. The same way she wrote her E's. His voice broke then, and for a moment, the silence swallowed them again. She opened the envelope with shaking fingers. A printed application. Her own signature at the bottom. A sticky note was attached, don't forget who you are. The phrase punched through her like lightning. Time loop echo. Her father's voice. The sock note. The words she had clung to for years, yet now scrawled in unfamiliar pen, from someone who should have been a stranger. She couldn't breathe. Couldn't blink. Why me? She asked. Why now? He didn't answer. Maybe he couldn't. The scarf lay between them like a question neither of them could unravel. She bent slowly and picked it up, squeezing the rain out. This time, she wrapped it around her shoulders not for warmth, but for weight. Memory. I can't go back, she said. He nodded, eyes full of something she couldn't name. She turned without another word and walked across the station. Through the glass doors. Up the stairs. Into the building next door, Lumitech headquarters. A receptionist looked up, startled. Do you have an appointment? She didn't answer. She stepped forward anyway. Into the room. Into the storm she could no longer outrun. The office was colder than she expected. Not in temperature, but in feeling, glass walls, muted tones, chrome edges that made her feel transparent. The receptionist watched her with quiet suspicion, fingers hovering over a keyboard, ready to press a button if needed. She clutched the red scarf tighter. A security badge lay waiting on the counter. No name. Just a guest pass, face down, like an invitation or a dare. She turned it over. Her handwriting. An assistant led her to the top floor. No words. Just the soft click of heels on tile, the elevator humming like a held breath. When the doors opened, he was already waiting. He stood in front of the window, back to her. The skyline stretched behind him, endless and gray, rain still streaking down the glass like tears that hadn't yet fallen. He didn't turn around when he spoke. "I didn't call you here to offer you a job." She didn't move. Her voice was quiet. "Then why?" He reached into his coat and set something on the desk between them. A photo. The same one from his wallet. A girl, dark hair, half a smile. His daughter. She disappeared 5 years ago. Walked into a storm and never came back. Not dead. Not alive. Just gone. He turned now, eyes hollow. "You walk like her. You fight like her. You don't let anyone see how much you're breaking." She swallowed. "I'm not her." "No," he said. "But you reminded me what it feels like to care again. And what it costs." She took a step forward. Then another. She held out the red scarf. The fabric still damp. Her hands steady now. "This isn't mine," she said. "It never was." He looked down at it, hesitant. Then took it in both hands and folded it gently, like something fragile, then set it inside the photo frame. Closure. She waited for the offer, for the grand gesture, the redemption story. But he just said, "Thank you." Nothing more. She nodded. A quiet understanding passed between them, two people shaped by absence, trying to make something out of what remained. Then she reached into her bag and pulled out a sealed envelope. Her resume. She placed it beside the photo. "I don't want the job anymore," she said. "I think I came for the wrong reasons." He didn't argue. She turned to leave, then paused at the door. "You know," she said softly, "some people carry more than just bags. They carry silence." He looked up at her, pain flickering across his face like distant lightning. She walked out of the office and back into the rain. No scarf. No suitcase. No weight she didn't choose. The station was still there, humming like memory. But this time, she wasn't waiting. She passed the same vending machine where they had stood before. A girl stood nearby now, small suitcase at her feet, eyes searching. She paused, met the girl's gaze. Smiled. Then walked on. Not every stranger you help is meant to stay, but some leave you changed forever. The rain had stopped by morning. She walked through the empty side street near her apartment, the air heavy with the scent of wet pavement and something faintly sweet, honeysuckle, maybe, from a nearby fence. Cars passed in the distance, but this place felt quiet, wrapped in a kind of hush the world rarely allowed. Her shoes were still damp. She didn't mind. The scarf wasn't with her anymore. It rested now, folded in a wooden drawer beneath a single lamp, next to the photo of the girl with the half-smile. She'd left it with him. Not as a gift. Not as forgiveness. But as a closing of a door that had stayed open too long. Inside her apartment, the walls felt smaller than she remembered, but not suffocating. Just familiar. The kind of small you could breathe inside if you stopped running. She set her empty bag by the door. No ballet slipper. No paper note. Only silence, and the echo of a voice she once carried like a compass, "Don't forget who you are." She didn't know exactly what that meant anymore. Maybe it changed with time. Maybe remembering wasn't about the past, it was about what you were willing to let go of to move forward. She stood by the window and watched the city stretch into morning. The light was pale and clean, filtering through leaves that hadn't yet begun to fall. Somewhere below, a boy on a scooter laughed too loud, and a dog barked in response, chasing a bird with wild joy. Her fingers touched the edge of the windowpane. Cold glass, steady breath. For the first time in a long time, there was no urgency in her chest. No train to catch. No voice warning her to get out. Just space. She thought of him, not as a mystery anymore, but as a man who had loved and lost and looked for pieces of someone he missed in all the wrong places. He hadn't needed saving. Neither had she. Sometimes love is not romance, it's recognition. And sometimes, it's letting someone go before they reach for you. The job was gone. So was the storm. But something had shifted, unspoken but undeniable. The girl she had been, the one clutching a suitcase and trying not to cry, felt far away now, like a version of her someone else had imagined. She picked up a pen and scribbled something on the back of a receipt. Just one line. She didn't know why. Then folded it carefully and slid it inside the drawer beside the scarf. She didn't need to remember every detail. Just enough. Later that night, she lit a single candle on the windowsill and let it burn until sleep came. The city pulsed quietly outside, lights flickering like tiny heartbeats. She didn't know what came next. She didn't need to. Because in the stillness between leaving and arriving, something had settled. The hardest people to let go of are the ones who show us ourselves.